Pooja, the equation for velocity, please. It is not equal to change in displacement over change in time. However, that is the most common incorrect answer. She said this change in displacement over change in time. Somebody please help me correct that. Pooja, don't worry, I've heard this several times today. Change in displacement over change in time is not correct. Jack?
Change in position.
Change in position over change in time. Delta x is displacement. So it's change in position over change in time. If the change in position of the wave is the wavelength, what is the change in time? So if the change in position or the displacement is the wavelength, how long did that take? Learners.
The period.
That is by definition the period. The wavelength is the distance traveled during one full cycle, and the period is the time it takes for one full cycle. So those are, you're going to have the wavelength divided by the period. Well, we know that frequency is equal to 1 over the period. Therefore, we can get 1 over the period times the wavelength, or frequency times the wavelength. In other words, velocity equals frequency times wavelength. And that is a boxed equation. Notice that that's just derived from the equation for velocity and the definitions of wavelength, frequency, and period. Now, I can't stress it enough that when we do cover both simple harmonic motion and waves, that you guys tend to confuse the two. So this equation right here, does simple harmonic motion class have a wavelength?
No.
So can you use this equation with simple harmonic motion?
No.
So no, not simple harmonic motion. It's only for waves. Speaking of it, actually, we have a new friend for our table of friends, and this is the only one for today, so we'll just do it right now, which is the wavelength. The symbol being lambda, the equation being velocity equals frequency times the wavelength. What are the dimensions for wavelength then? Hunter? Remember, the wavelength is the distance traveled during one full cycle for a wave. It's just meters. It's a linear dimension. So it's meters, could be any linear dimension. Base SI dimensions would